In this tutorial, we will go through Karamel experiment design, and we will see how you can design an experiment from the scratch. If you don't know how to use Karamel, and if you are unfamiliar with Karamel, please go and watch the Getting Started video first. Alright, to get started, I already have a cluster definition of Flink loaded into my Karamel console. And from here I go to experiment menu item. In this section you see that you have to log in into GitHub. We use GitHub as default artifact repository. So put your username and password here. Karamel will connect to your GitHub and it will get your information. Now you have two options here. You can make a new experiment, or you can load an already designed experiment here. So I want to design a new experiment. Okay, this experiment, as I have explained in the website, if you go to the website of Karamel, in the experiment part, we have word count on Flink cluster experiment. So we go down here. You see that we are going to measure performance of word count by Apache Flink. First, this experiment has two parts, as I mentioned here, because the first part is to providing the data, which is random text generator, and the second part is doing word count. We keep them separated because we want to measure the time that Apache Flink spends to just do the word count. Alright, and you have all code snippets here that I'm gonna use here in our tutorial as well. You can also use them if you want to do this tutorial by yourself. Okay, if I come back, I pick a name for my text generator first. And I describe it. And I also choose the repository on GitHub that I want this generator be hosted into. So now I can create my experiment. When I create my experiment, let's see here. When you open your experiment code section, you see that there are two options. You can either write your experiment in Bash or Python. So I choose Bash, and I copy this code from here, put it, I paste it here, and then what basically this code does is generates the text file of 128 megabyte and puts it in temp folder with the name input.txt, and then it goes and checks on HDFS if a folder called /words already exists or not. It will make it, and then it will copy from local the generated input text from temp folder to the words directory in HDFS. Name of the file is equal to name of the node. We do this because I want to give all data nodes to generate a file 128 megabyte for us. In fact, that way we have a higher parallelization factor. Alright, now if I press to save, it takes a little bit time, and you see that it's saved. And if we go to the Karamel lab on GitHub, you see this generator has been generated. Alright, we are still not completely done. We need to look at the advanced section to specify when this text generator can be run and what is the orchestration rules for it. Since our text generator needs HDFS to be up and running to copy the input file, so we need to tell Karamel, please run this text generator after the Hadoop data node is up and running. And also Karamel needs to know which Hadoop recipe, which Hadoop cookbook we are talking about here. Therefore, you should also, if you go back to the Karamel website, you see here we specify cookbook. I refer to our own already designed cookbook because it is caramelized, and we don't need to be worried about Karamel knowing your cookbook or not. So I use our own cookbook. And then there are more options here. You can, if you want something, any code to any installation phase in your cookbook to happen before any recipe or any experiment run, you can put it here. It will go into the install recipe of your cookbook here. Right? You don't have to do anything now. And then parameters, if you want to make your experiment parameterized, and you give option to your user or yourself, if you want to run it over and over again with different parameters, you can specify them here, and then you can refer to them by $sign in the code. So Karamel will bind them for you later in runtime. Alright, now we are done with generator. I save it again. Okay, and now I close it. Now I want to design our word count. Alright, and I put it in the same repo. We don't have to do anything with advanced first. Okay, if you go scroll further down, you see you have experiment word count and Flink. So we will copy this code, this bash code here. I will describe what it does. Okay, the first line of the code is basically checking if this counts folder on HDFS /counts, which is going to be the result folder, exists or not. Then it will remove it, and then it will change the directory to Flink installation path, and then from there it will run Flink. And you see -p in Flink command is the parallelization factor. It means how many tasks should be run. So I want to make this dynamic based on size of the cluster. Again, if you want to run this experiment over and over again with different node size, and you want to measure time, so this value would be a number of data nodes, and that's the parallelization factor. I pick the default word count jar file from Flink distribution package, and then I will give it the HDFS folder words as input and HDFS counts folder as output. As to Flink default configuration, you need to give IP address of the name node and the port number of your HDFS. That is, the IP address is being binded later on dynamically for you. Alright, we are done with the bash script. I just press to save it. And we go to the Karamel lab to confirm yes, word count has been generated for us. And we just need to specify orchestration here. Okay, now if you think your word count needs to be run, it has to make sure HDFS is up and running, Apache Flink is up and running, the task managers, and your data is available on HDFS. Since Flink itself is dependent on Apache Hadoop, we don't need to say anything about Apache Hadoop. It's just enough if we say Flink task manager, and then since there is no dependency between your text generator and Flink, we need to specify text generator here. Generator it was, and experiment. Okay, and likewise we have to go here to make sure that I haven't misspelled anything. I just copy from here, from our website, and also references to specified cookbooks. Again, these are caramelized cookbooks that are defined in Hub's Hadoop GitHub repo. And likewise, you can further customize if you want and have some parameters that we don't have right now. We are done here. Just press to save it. Alright. Okay, I can close this one as well. Now we have our experiments designed on Karamel Lab on GitHub. So if you go back to the main page of Karamel, now we have to add those new recipes or experiments into our installation or stack. So first of all, we need to put text generator recipe in data nodes group. If you go back to the generator folder, you can copy the URL of that and come back here and paste it into the URL text field, and then press fetch. When you press fetch, Karamel will fetch more information and list of available recipes in that cookbook. So I'm gonna just pick the generator experiment and add it to this data node stack, and then in name nodes I want to add word count. I copy word count URL, come back here, paste it, and I fetch it. So now I have word count experiment here. Alright, we are done. The only thing you can change if you want is number of nodes. You can increase it. I can increase it to 3 maybe. And now to just confirm your cluster configuration, I want to show you when you save your cluster configuration and you open it, you see here that new cookbooks in Karamel Lab are included in your cluster definition, and then the relevant recipes are added, also added into the corresponding group. Name nodes we have wordcount, right? And then you can just send this cluster definition to anyone, and that person can just load it like this. We go to download. Okay. Now you can further customize your cluster, and this is very important in this section. That you have many cookbooks. Each cookbook will be run by default with the same user name and group name as the cookbook's name. But if you do so, then your, for example, your Flink cookbook and recipe or your bash script will be run in Flink user, and it won't have access to the text that is generated by text generator, or word count cannot access your text. So to not run into that kind of permission problem, I would suggest that you change all usernames here to the topmost recipe or experiment, which is word count. I'll change it for Flink as well. Hadoop as well. Now we have word count everywhere. Okay, that's good. And another thing is that based on type of machine you use on cloud and the hardware specification, you need to change the, you need to give your Flink enough memory. So by default it's just 256 megabytes for job manager, and for the task manager it's just 512. But since we are using M3 Medium in this experiment, I'm going to give it like maybe 3 gigabytes each of them, and Flink is running in batch mode, so we just add this, and we are ready to go. Just check our SSH key and credentials, and I run my experiments. Just check the status here. Your machines are not forked yet, so should wait. We have data nodes, 3 data nodes we have right now. We are waiting for the naming. Right, now if you go to the orchestration DAG, you see that this is started, and it will expand like this. Again, it's very good when you design a new experiment and you specify your orchestration routes. It's good that you confirm it in your DAG and see, just take a look, a close look, and see Okay, for example, we have word count experiment as the very last task that is dependent on Flink task manager and on all nodes, all data nodes, and also generator experiment also in all nodes. That's good. And also each generator is dependent on Hadoop data node, and Hadoop data node of in all data. Each generator experiment is dependent on Hadoop data node. It means that your Hadoop cluster is completely up and running. And it tells you to text generator. So we should wait a little bit. Takes about 10 minutes. Our experiments are completely finished and the graph is completely green, as you can see here. So to confirm everything is okay, we can just go back to the status. Okay, you see that installation also done, and installation phase it took about maybe 12, a little bit more than 12 minutes. And also you see all the tasks are done in all machines. And in name node we have word count, which took around 2 minutes and 10 seconds in this case. And our text generator in this machine took 55 seconds. In this machine it took 53 seconds, almost the same. And the first one it took 55 seconds. That's very interesting. They are really close to each other. So by having this data, you can just, if you run your cluster many times with different size, then you can plot duration and see how, for example, Apache Flink scales. Now, if you go to the, just confirm that everything is right in place, we go to the quick links, and we bring up the Hadoop name node, web console. Here, if I go to the utilities and browse file system, I want to just make sure that we have files available. Yes, we have words and counts. In words, we have 3 different files named after each machine that generated it, and also the size of the file is the block size is 128 and the exact size is 122. And if we go back to the root, and go to the counts, you see also here that we have 3 files, and you see results are a little bit bigger than the input size because we used, and that makes sense because we used the uniformly random generated text, but I suppose most of the words are just happening one time, and also because the text includes the result text includes the count also. That's why we got the bigger files. Alright, if we go back, we can also check Flink Job Manager. Yeah, here also you can see that we have one job finished successfully and nothing failed. And you can see we have 3 processing slots. And we have word count example in the job history, and you can see the schedule, how it changed. Alright, and if you want to further investigate the data that is generated, you can just go to the name node, copy the IP address of your name node, SSH into name node. Here I want to access HDFS, so first I try to access sudo user and change user to our global user which was word count. And from here we have HDFS command available. I want to see what is inside counts, for example 1. Oh, that's a huge file. Just stop it here. You see there's all random words, and this is the count in front of them. As I said, most of them they have 1, and you can see this one has 6 occurrence. So the word count really worked. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. Thank you.